My name is Rachel Gentry. I'm 27 years old, born and raised in a small town in Pennsylvania, but now I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I work as a neonatal ICU nurse, night shifts mostly. Life in the hospital can be tough, but it makes sense to me in a way my family never did. Saving premature babies feels less complicated than going home. And Thanksgiving? It was always the one day I'd force myself to return, out of obligation, out of hope, out of guilt. Maybe some part of me kept believing one year it would finally feel like family again. I was wrong. This year, everything broke. I got off my shift at 7 a.m. Thanksgiving morning. Exhausted, I drove the 3 hours home, drinking too much coffee and watching the sun rise with numb eyes. I hadn't seen my family in over 9 months, not since my younger brother Evan's engagement party. That night, Mom had introduced him as her golden boy. She didn't say it to hurt me, but she didn't have to. She never said things for my sake. At the time, I had smiled and clapped and told myself to get over it, but the resentment brewed like acid in my chest. When I arrived at the old colonial house we grew up in, I sat in my car for 10 minutes before walking in. I practiced my smile in the rearview mirror. My parents always said I looked prettier when I smiled. I didn't even knock. I never had to. The inside smelled like rosemary, turkey, and cinnamon candles. It was warm. Too warm. My mother always kept it that way, as if the house itself had to work harder to feel inviting. "Rachel," she chirped, coming from the kitchen in her apron, cheeks flushed with heat and excitement. "You're here early?" "Left right after work," I said, forcing my lips up. "Still doing those night shifts?" she asked, not hiding the judgment in her tone. "It's the NICU, Mom," I replied. "Babies don't stop needing care because it's night." She didn't respond, just gave me that half smile and returned to the kitchen. My father barely looked up from the game on TV, and Evan walked in minutes later, all loud confidence and frat boy energy, even at 25. His fiancée, Claire, followed behind, perfect and polished like she always was. I went to set the table, trying to stay out of everyone's way. I was always good at that, being helpful, but invisible. Mom had made the exact same dishes she made every year. Stuffing with cranberries, mashed sweet potatoes with marshmallows, green bean casserole, and her famous pecan pie. It was a tableau of tradition, and yet somehow it never felt like mine. Dinner started fine. Small talk, compliments on the food, clinking glasses. Then somewhere between the second glass of wine and Evan retelling a story about his latest real estate deal, things shifted. Mom asked about my love life, which she knew was non-existent. I told her I didn't have time for dating. "Oh, come on," she said, laughing like it was charming. "You can't stay single forever. Don't you want someone to take care of you?" "I take care of myself," I said, quieter than I intended. Claire gave a small smile, the kind that made you feel judged, even though her lips never moved. "You missed Evan's birthday. Again." "I was working a double shift, Mom," I said, my voice tight. "It's not like I was on vacation." "Still," she said, "family shows up. Claire's family is so involved. They make time." It was a knife disguised as a compliment. "You don't get to call me selfish," I said, my hands trembling under the table. "I've spent my whole life trying to earn your approval. You never even asked about my last promotion, or how many babies I've saved. You just care that I'm not married and I don't visit enough." "Don't raise your voice," Dad muttered, not looking at me. And then Evan spoke, his voice slick with condescension. "You always make everything about you, Rachel. This is supposed to be a nice dinner, not one of your drama shows." Something inside me snapped. "You mean the way Mom makes everything about you? The golden child? I worked 2 jobs through college while you partied your way through undergrad and still got bailed out every time." Evan's smile disappeared. "You better watch it." "I'm done watching it," I said, standing. Mom looked shocked. "Sit down, Rachel. Don't ruin this." "I didn't ruin anything." "You did," I said. "Every time you choose Evan. Every time you dismiss me." Then Evan stood up. He picked up his wine glass, and I saw it coming before he even moved, but I didn't think he'd actually do it. He threw it. Red wine splashed across my face and blouse like blood, the glass shattering at my feet. Everyone gasped. Claire said, "Evan," in horror, but no one moved. I stood there, wine dripping down my neck, heart pounding in my ears. "That," I said, my voice shaking, "is who you protect." "Rachel, he didn't mean," Mom started, but I was already walking toward the door. I drove back to Baltimore that night, crying the whole way. The wine had soaked into my skin, into my soul, like a final stain I couldn't scrub out. But as I crossed state lines, a strange thing happened. The tears stopped, my breathing slowed, and I realized I was free. Free from pretending, free from guilt, free from needing love from people who only gave it conditionally. I didn't call them for weeks, not even when Mom texted an apology, half-hearted and riddled with justifications. Not even when Claire called to say she was sorry for what Evan did. I didn't care anymore. I had spent 27 years shrinking myself to fit into a version of family that was never made for me. In the NICU, I was someone. I mattered. The parents of the tiny babies I cared for cried when they saw me, thanked me, looked at me like I was a miracle. That was my real family. The ones who saw me, not who I was supposed to be, but who I actually was. This Thanksgiving, I'm working the night shift again. I'll bring pumpkin pie for the staff, play soft jazz in the break room, and rock babies who came into this world too early. And when I clock out at sunrise, I'll go home to my tiny apartment, make coffee, and feel the quiet kind of peace that only comes from knowing you walked away from people who never deserved to break you. I used to think family was everything. Now I know better. Family is who shows up, not who shares your name.